Bardstown, Kentucky, mother of 5, Crystal Rogers, disappeared in 2015. She has never been found, but her boyfriend, Brooks Houck, has been arrested along with a second man, Joseph Lawson. And tonight, a third arrest, Joseph Lawson's father. We have the details.
Who is Steve Lawson?
He's somebody works for me.
I forgot. What did I tell you?
You told me that you would call, what's her name, Katie or whatever she handles all that.
Crystal.
Crystal, okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
You said she handles all that?
In Oxford, Michigan, heartbreak in the courtroom as the then 15-year-old mass murderer from Oxford High School is sentenced and victim impact statements are given. Was justice served?
As I stand here today, I'm 16 years old, and I'm a junior at Oxford High School. I was 14 when you shot people right outside my classroom. As I think about it now, I can feel the adrenaline running through my veins.
On the docket tonight in Tallahassee, Florida, FSU law professor Dan Markell was murdered in the middle of a bitter custody battle. His ex-brother-in-law was convicted of masterminding the conspiracy. And now his ex-mother-in-law has been charged. Donna Adelson.
You're being sued? No, that's what I thought about it. Does it involve me or other people? Well, probably both.
In tonight's Tank Takes, a man in an expensive SUV finds a parked car with a Christmas tree tied onto it. He cuts the rope and steals the tree. So tonight we're wondering, what should Santa bring this thief? Get ready, this hour of closing arguments starts right now. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. We begin this hour with a story we've been following for quite some time. It was 2015 when Crystal Rogers went missing. She's never been found. There she is with her family. It was a desperate, desperate search for Crystal. And in the midst of that search, her father was so desperate to find her, was so outspoken about it, so passionate about it, then he was shot and killed. He was murdered. A lot has happened here. For those of you who don't know the story of Crystal Rogers, take a listen.
I believe with all my heart and soul that there is going to be an arrest and there will be justice for my family.
Crystal Marie Rogers was a 35-year-old mother of 5 when she was last seen on July 3rd, 2015. 2 days later, on July 5th, Rogers' mother reported her missing. The same day she was reported missing, her red Chevy Impala was found abandoned on the Bluegrass Parkway with a flat tire and keys in the ignition and a diaper bag still in the car. Crystal's mother, Sherry Ballard, thinks that the car was staged.
I think they placed my daughter's car on that BG. I have never, ever thought that my daughter was in that car.
In the weeks after her disappearance, investigators focused on Rogers' longtime boyfriend, Brooks Houck. According to police, he was the last person to see Rogers alive.
So you go to bed, she stays up. What's she doing?
She's just on her phone playing, I don't know what game, but she normally plays a game.
Right.
Some kind. She's got several of them on there, but I don't know which one.
Do you know what time Eli came to bed, or she put him into bed?
I don't know.
And so when you wake up, he's there, but Crystal's not.
She's not.
Multiple searches of Houck's home and family farm turned up no connection to her disappearance. But just a few months after Crystal vanished, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office named Houck the main suspect in the case. Houck denied any involvement for more than 8 years until he was indicted and arrested by the FBI and Kentucky State Police. This came just weeks after Joseph Lawson was arrested for conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence in the case. However, Sherry Ballard has never doubted Brooks Houck was connected to her daughter's disappearance.
100% in my heart that Brooks Houck is responsible, and that's my opinion.
So let's take a look at who has been arrested and charged in the disappearance and murder of Crystal Rogers. We begin with Joseph Lawson. There he is, 32 years old, arrested August 15th, 2023, 8 years after Crystal disappeared, charged with conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. Then there's Brooks Houck, the one with, I guess, an alleged motive in all of this. Arrested September 27th, 2023, just a month later, charged with murder and tampering with physical evidence. And now tonight, the latest in all of this, Stephen Lawson, indicted today on conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. Those are the same charges as his son, Joseph Lawson. Houck claims Lawson worked for him, so that's the connection. This man who's indicted works for Brooks Houck, made a late-night call to Houck the night that Crystal Rogers disappeared. So he's communicating with Brooks the night that Crystal disappears, okay? So when Brooks Houck was interrogated and interviewed by police, during the course of that phone call comes up in the discussion. So right there during the interrogation, Brooks said, all right, let's call Steve up right now. Take a look.
I need your help while I got you on the phone here. Do you remember the other night you called me really late, and I forgot what you asked me. Can you? I guess we wasn't on the phone. I might have been tired. I know it was pretty late at night. Can you remember what you asked me or what you were after? I can't remember.
Yes, sir, I can. I called to ask you for them numbers for a house.
Oh, for a rental house.
Yes, sir,
And,
I did.
and what did I forgot? What did I tell you?
You told me that you would call, what's her name, Katie or whatever, she handles all that.
Crystal.
Crystal, okay, I apologize.
Yeah.
And you said she handles all that, and that you would get back with me on it.
All right. Thank you so much, Neil.
Hey, if there's anything I can do, you give me a call.
Thank you. You have a good night now.
Yes, sir. God bless you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that begs a question in my mind.
All right.
If she's in the truck next to you when he called, why would you need to call her about getting numbers for rental
Because
property?
being that way that night we're headed to the house, you know, I just wouldn't, she normally's not going to deal with stuff that late. And I mean, I probably didn't even look at the phone to see who it was calling me. I'm sure I just answered it, you know.
But he said you told him that you need to call her.
All right.
Why would you need to call her? I mean, that's an odd phrase for someone who's sitting next to you in the truck. Do you understand? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. But I mean, that's what if that right there is what I told him, that right there is what I told him. We wasn't on the phone that long, but normally I would just, she handles all that, and that's what I would do. She's not going to want to mess with that kind of stuff that late. I'm sure I'll probably try to answer the phone really quickly, so that it wouldn't, a lot of times after I get moving, goes to sleep, you know. Sometimes he goes to sleep in the truck, sometimes he doesn't. So if you want to call him, you got his number and everything. If you want to call him, you know, you can call him.
Great job by the investigator right there. Great job. You get a call, and he wants to talk to Crystal. He can't remember Crystal's name. Okay. And, oh, yeah, I need to call her. Wait, you told me that she was right next to you in the car. Why would you need to call her? Got caught. Got caught right there. To me, it's obvious. And his whole reaction, his body language. I'm not a body language expert, but he looks really uncomfortable and like he's searching for an explanation. How do I talk myself out of this? Where's Casey Anthony when I need her? Unbelievable. All right, let's bring in our think tank tonight. Joining us in New York City, former senior homicide prosecutor, founder of Villalona Law, Bernarda Villalona is with us. Also joining us in Los Angeles, California, Deputy Public Defender for LA County, Philip Dubé. And in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the attorney who successfully represented Johnny Depp in his defamation case and also a fellow at the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ben Chu. Great to see everyone tonight. All right, Bernard, I'll begin with you. I mean, that's a moment, right? He gets caught. Brooks Houck gets caught, and he's on the phone with the guy who just got indicted today. Their stories don't seem to make sense in that moment, right?
Absolutely. He got caught. His own words are going to do him in. But Vinnie, you know what's going to end up happening at the time of trial? They're going to request separate juries, so they're not going to be tried together, because right there, that conversation right there is inculpating the both of them, and they're going to have defenses that are going to conflict with each other. So we're going to look for separate trials for this homicide case.
Philip Dubé, what did you think about Steve Lawson? He was almost indicted today, and he just couldn't remember Crystal's name. He got the name wrong. Oh yeah, Crystal, that's right, Crystal.
All right, so he's just a doddering fool, but I don't think that that's suspicious or inculpating enough to say he's guilty of conspiracy to commit murder or straight up murder. You're always going to have what I call warts in a criminal case when you're under indictment or under suspicion, because that's what's drawing attention to you. You say and do and, act out on crazy notions and things that just don't make sense when you have law enforcement trying to piece together a missing person, And I just, based on that, I don't think there's enough evidence.
Well,
it certainly looks fishy.
They've got evidence. They've got evidence against his son Joseph. Steve works for Brooks, and they've got the phone records from the night of the disappearance linking Steve and Brooks together, and that was their recitation of what they were talking about. Obviously, prosecutors are going to say they were talking about something else, which was what happened to Crystal there. Ben Chu, you represented one of the great actors of our time, Johnny Depp. What did you think of the performance in the interrogation by Brooks Houck and his co-star on the phone, Steve Lawson?
I think it left a lot to be desired. I don't think he was Johnny Depp, that's for sure.
Yeah, Philip, can I go back to you on that? I'm listening to the two talk to each other, and I'm reminded, it almost sounds like, Real Housewives of Orange County, or maybe not to that level, right? Maybe it's Real Housewives of Utah, Salt Lake City, I don't know. But it's just like that bad acting where they have sort of a script and they're trying to ad-lib and seem like they're really in the moment, but they're not actual actors, so they can't pull it off, and they come across very awkward. Not even as good as those made-for-TV Christmas movies that we've been watching all month long.
Well, if the prosecution's narrative is to be believed, it really sounds like that they have rehearsed and kind of role-played what would go down and what they would say if they were ever interrogated by the police. And chances are so much time went by between the time they talked about it and rehearsed it and went through it and the time that they're actually sat down by police and now being questioned rather closely and intimately, they couldn't remember all the details. So they're kind of reminding each other, giving each other little cues, so that they could jar each other's memory about what to say, what not to say. But again, I don't think it's cryptic enough to say it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt of conspiracy to kill. I don't see it yet.
Bernarda, do you think prosecutors will dangle an offer to one of the Lawsons, the father or the son? And do you think it would be predicated upon information related to where Crystal is?
Absolutely. One of the goals, and I'm sure for the family of the deceased, is that they want the body. And one thing as a prosecutor, as a former homicide prosecutor, is that when you're dealing with cases where you don't have the body, and the family is really intent and just let me get the body so I can lay that person to rest, that they will make one of the conditions of the plea to actually the whereabouts of the body. Also, what the prosecutor is going to do, depending on the strength of the case, if they see that their case is not as strong towards one person, they are going to be willing to flip one of the defendants, usually the one that is the less culpable in the sense that that person wasn't the one who physically killed the deceased in this case. And that way they'll be able to flip that person to testify against the other two. So we still got to wait and see because we don't know what all the evidence is. All we're seeing is this little clip, but this little clip doesn't look good for anyone.
You know, I can't remember what I said the other night. Do you remember what I said? Can you tell the officer? Because I just, come on, that stunk to high heaven. All right, these guys are great though. Bernard Villone and Philip Dubé, Ben Chu with us the whole hour. Up next. The Oxford school shooter was just 15 when he committed mass murder. Today he was sentenced. Was justice served?
I've worked hard all my life. I've gone from being a local reporter to becoming a law student to then even going on to teach other lawyers, all before I came to Court TV. As a journalist, lawyer, and teacher, I learned the secret to success is speaking in your authentic voice. And I bring that lesson to my show, Opening Statements, every morning on Court TV.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
I am a really bad person. I have done terrible things that no one should ever do. All I want is for the people I hurt to just have a final sense of culpability that justice has somewhat been served in any capacity that they can recognize it with. Any sentence that they ask for, I ask that you do impose it on me because I want them to be happy and I want them to feel secure and safe, and I do not want them to worry another day. So I really am sorry for what I've done, for what I've taken of them. I cannot give it back, but I can try my best in the future to help other people, and that is what I will do.
That's the Oxford school shooter. He was 15 years old when he committed mass murder at his high school. Today was his sentencing, and a little bit refreshing there, not asking for any mercy, talking about the victims and their families. That is refreshing. I like to see him waive his appeals as well. That would be a nice gesture. But here's the judge handing down the sentence. And the judge had some discretion here. A lot of discretion, from 25 years to life without the possibility of parole. Take a look.
The court, having read the PSI and being fully familiar with the defendant and the underlying facts of this case, believes that it is in the best interest of justice as well as proportionate to the needs of this case to sentence defendant as follows. Count 1, terrorism causing death. Sentence of the court is that defendant shall serve life without the possibility of parole, credit for 8 days served. Counts 2 through 5, homicide, first degree, premeditated murder, juvenile defendant. Sentence of the court is that defendant shall serve the rest of his life without the possibility of parole.
Unusual, right, to see someone who was 15 at the time, but it was mass murder, gets life without the possibility of parole. That's why I'd like to see him, as a gesture, waive his appeals, because you know that's going to be appealed. Take a listen now, because today was sentencing, and as you know, sentencing is about victim impact. It's their moment, it's their time to finally express everything that they've been through. Let's take a listen.
Blood smeared in her hair, and they made sure I saw her from a side that was more acceptable for a grieving mother. That was not my daughter. Madison was far from lifeless. As I banged on the door demanding to touch her, I lost my ability to stand. I was dragged away from her. I was not allowed to touch my own daughter. I was not allowed to hold her hand and just let her know I was there. It's a feeling that no parent should ever feel. But that's my baby. I deserved the right to be with her, but I was not allowed. Instead, I was dragged away from her, screaming like a toddler, saying profanities in the most ignorant way. That is when I realized I could no longer deny it. I didn't want to admit I was wrong. I didn't want to visualize a moment without her. I didn't want to believe she was gone. But it hit me like a semi-truck. I knew her dreams were no longer the future, but only dreams. To the waste that took my daughter's life, that name will never come out of my mouth. That life will cease to exist to me, and just like trash, it will be forgotten. So while the attention that he has been seeking for this horrendous crime, you will get no reaction from me.
So as we're wandering around Meyer, asking everybody if they've seen Tate, we got summoned to the manager's office at Meyer. And we're delivered the news that Tate wasn't with us anymore. And the thing that and the thing that stands out to me was what my wife said. She put her head in her hands and it said, "Not my baby boy."
I could never escape the thoughts, the loss, the grief, the what ifs. What would life be like right now? Where would Tate be going to school? What memories would we have made together? Now, I just have to wonder, what would it have been like? My future kids can't meet their uncle. My parents can't watch one of their sons grow up. I won't get to have Tate as groomsman. Ty and I can't get a cabin with their brother. These are the thoughts that I have every single day.
I am so sorry, Hannah, for leaving that building that day. That is and forever will be my biggest mistake and my biggest regret. I am sorry that I cannot make you feel even a fraction of a world without Hannah. If I could, the shooter would be dead. A creature who left Hannah lying in her own pool of blood, crying in pain, who went to go shoot her again, does not deserve to take another breath.
You see, on that day, my life was torn apart, and for a while thereafter, I struggled with dark thoughts and found myself completely lost in a seemingly endless sea of raging emotions with no care as to what happened to me. And grief had consumed me and has squeezed out every bit of joy and happiness in my life. Still, today it's uncertain if I'll find my way back.
Your Honor, it's almost impossible to find the human words to describe my grief, pain, trauma, and rage. The manner in which my son Justin was so cold-heartedly, methodically executed shows clearly the pure evil and malice of the shooter. You didn't win. You're not famous. It didn't turn out as you had hoped. The media will forget about you. They will move on. I know you're miserable, and it's only going to get worse as the reality does set in. But we are only going to get better. More healed, more loved, and more loving towards others. More peaceful and more full of grace. And one last thing I do want you to know. If you were that lonely, that miserable, that lost, and you really needed a friend, Justin would have been your friend if you had only asked him. Thank you.
Wow. Let's bring in our think tank. Bernardo Villalona, Philip Dubé, Ben Chu. Ben, was justice served today?
I think it was, Vinny. I thought Judge Rowe did a masterful job. The one thing I respectfully disagree with him about was when he said to the defendant, this was only your fault. It certainly was his fault, but, and I know you're going to get to this, but I think the parents bear an enormous part of the blame, refusing his request for mental health treatment, allowing him access to the firearm, I think the blame extends to them as well.
And for the first time that I know of, the parents of a school shooter will be brought into a courtroom and tried. They've been charged 4 counts involuntary manslaughter, so we still have that ahead. Bernarda, was justice served today?
Well, this is the justice that those families are going to get because there is no death penalty. And the only justice that they got today was closure. Closure in the sense that the person that is responsible for taking the life of their loved ones has now been sentenced, and sentenced to the point where he will never see the light of day. He is going to die in jail because of the sentence of life without the possibility of parole. It's not going to bring those loved ones back, but at least it gives them closure to know that the person that is responsible, at least one of the people that are responsible, is now going to be in jail for the rest of their lives. And now they'll wait till January until the trials of the parents start and try to get accountability and closure from them.
Philip Dubé, your thoughts? Was justice served today?
I think justice was served for the victims and certainly for the prosecution, but not at all for this young man. And frankly, I think the judge applied the wrong standard. If you listen to his rulings, he said that he's finding in the interest of justice and for deterrence sake and to protect society, he's going to impose life without parole. But the standard under the Miller case versus Alabama from 2012, where we do not have mandatory life without parole sentences anymore for juveniles. Instead, you're entitled to a hearing where you put on the incapacities, the mitigating factors involving the child. And what the court has to find is that there's clear and convincing evidence that life without parole is not disproportionate in light of all the mitigating factors and in light of all the incapacities. It is not a standard of, well, you're going to get life without parole because it's in the interest of justice. I would not be a bit surprised if this case comes back on appeal because of legal error, that he applied the wrong standard. So I don't know. But I do think, to be fair to this young man, that as he ages, as his mind and his body ages and his health conditions change, and as he's going through treatment and education, he's going to ripen into an otherwise law-abiding young man who hopefully can be of some good behind bars. And I just truly believe that maybe after 30, 40 years, he should at least be able to see a parole board to see if he's worthy of release, as opposed to just locking him up and throwing away the key for a crime at the tender age of 15. We owe it to our juvenile system to try to give these kids help, even if it can take decades, rather than just give up on them, throw away the key, and let them come out on what we call toe tag parole, meaning, in a body bag. And I think more could have been done here to avoid a life without parole.
Ben, I want to get back to what you mentioned, the parents. In part of what he said to the court today, the Oxford school shooter said, it's all me. And my parents, it's not on my parents. He was attempting in his statement to exonerate his parents, exonerate school officials, and take all the blame. What are your thoughts about him making that statement?
Well, I think in some way it makes the parents even more culpable that this person is so lost, and the person did reach out for help, and his parents weren't there. If you're not going to take care of your kids, don't have them, or put them up for adoption.
All right, folks, we got a lot more to get to tonight. Up next. First, Dan Markel's ex-brother-in-law was convicted of his murder. Now his ex-mother-in-law has been charged. Will his ex-wife ever be arrested?
We are moving closer to trial in the case against doomsday prophet Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him.
Investigators have recovered human remains at Chad Daybell's residence.
There's no way, Morgan. I could never come up with this.
His wife, Lori Vallow Daybell, has already been convicted.
Now, will her husband end up with the same fate?
It's just so hard to know where the truth ends.
It's the doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell, on trial.
There he is. He's a former law professor, but more importantly, he was a loving father. Dan Markel was murdered. It was a hit. A Latin King gang member and his buddy were hired to track him down. They drove 400 miles twice, took him out in his driveway. He was in the middle of a custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, and now his ex-brother-in-law, Charlie Adelson. You saw the trial here on Court TV, has been convicted, and now his ex-mother-in-law, Donna Adelson, has been charged. So Charlie on the left, already convicted. Donna on the right. She's next up for prosecutors in this case, where they keep trying new defendants, keep churning it out. They got the hitman. They got the hitmen. Then they got the broker who was in the middle, Charlie's ex-lover. Then they got Charlie. Now they're going after Donna. Here's the story.
How you doing? Just want to give you this.
Donna Adelson was the target of an undercover operation during the investigation into the murder of her son-in-law, Dan Markel. At the time of his death, the FSU law professor was involved in a custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendy Adelson, who was also Donna's daughter.
And I want to let you know that my brother, he's incarcerated. He helped your family with this problem you guys had up north.
This exchange, referred to by law enforcement as the bump, became evidence that prosecutors used to build their case against Donna's son, Charlie. He was accused of hiring the men who ultimately killed Markel. Charlie was convicted of first-degree murder, along with his ex-girlfriend, Catherine McBanawa, and the men she recruited to carry out the murder.
You are charged with 1 count of murder, 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder, and 1 count of solicitation to commit murder.
Now, Donna Adelson is also charged in the murder-for-hire scheme. The state alleges Donna played an active role in the plot to kill Markel as tensions surrounding the custody dispute began ratcheting up.
In this filing, Dan Markel alleges that on 3 separate occasions in November of 2013, the children informed him of their maternal grandmother, Donna Adelson, disparaging him. The boys indicate that, quote, "Grandma says you're stupid. She says you are trying to take her sunshines away from her." And, quote, "Grandma says she hates you."
Dan Markel was seeking to restrict Donna's access to his 2 children. The so-called grandmother's motion was pending when Markel was killed.
So the motive was clearly there.
How involved were you with the divorce proceedings?
I wasn't really involved with the divorce proceedings.
Charlie Adelson downplayed the alleged motive in his trial. Donna was captured on numerous wiretaps conversing with her son.
Has there been any more drama?
No.
0.
I still have some questions and things that I think need to be addressed, but, we'll do that tomorrow.
Prosecutors argued Donna was obsessed with Wendy's divorce and with beating Markel in the custody battle.
Could the defendant have cared enough about his sister's marital problems to commit murder? Maybe, maybe not. But if he didn't, his mom certainly cared enough with both of them. And she was in his ear all the time.
The 73-year-old Donna has maintained her innocence and pleaded not guilty to the charges.
One by one, Florida versus the Adelsons. Donna Adelson has a hearing on Monday. Obviously, we'll tell you everything that happens there. And then Charlie Adelson gets sentenced on Tuesday, and we'll have an opportunity to get some victim impact statements, and the judge will hand down the sentence. Of course, you'll see and hear it right here on your front row seat to justice. Let's bring back in our think tank, Bernardo Villalona, Philip Dubé, Ben Chu. Philip, I think it's a strong case against Donna. I was watching the trial against Charlie, and as I'm watching that trial, I'm saying, who's on trial here? It almost sounded like they were trying Donna with the evidence that they have. I think it's strong. I think it's powerful. I think it's compelling.
Of course it is. Why do you think she split? She bought a one-way ticket to Vietnam. And I'm telling you, within a matter of minutes, they would have had to look for her on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. She would have been gone, okay? And it was quite amazing that they were able to nab her literally on that jetway between the gate and the entrance to that aircraft. So she knew she was in hot water. But ultimately, what did her in was her own mouth. All the statements. You know, the so-called bump actually was very effective. It's a great law enforcement tool. You know, what it does is it kind of prompts people into getting on the horn or texting people and start, you know, spouting off everything that's on their mind about what occurred. And before you know it, you're incriminating yourself with all these admissions. And the cops were ready because they got a search warrant to wiretap all the conversations. Now, as to Wendy, I don't know that they're going to have the same evidence. To be fair to her, the one advantage that she has is the Florida hearsay rule as it relates to co-conspirators. Any statements that they want to use against her have to have been made during the course of and in furtherance of the conspiracy, meaning they cannot use statements that were made after the fact to prove the conspiracy. The conspiracy itself has to be proven up independent of the statements before the statements can even come in. And I'm not sure they have enough as to her, but I think they've got plenty as to Donna, and that's why she ran.
Ben Chu, I think about what would motivate Donna Adelson in this. And she was all in on this bitter custody battle, this intense litigation. And Dan Markel, the Harvard-educated Florida State University law professor, was winning, was beating the Adelsons, and she could not take it. I think that's what tipped the scale, and it got very personal.
Vinnie, I agree with you and Philip 100%. I think the case against her is very compelling. She was way too involved in her daughter and son-in-law's lives, and it had tragic consequences. Yeah,
Bernarda, they also have connections of Donna Adelson. She's cutting the checks from the family dental practice to Catherine McBanoa, who didn't work there. It was almost like Tony Soprano got her a no-show job, right? It's unreal. She's just getting checks. Like, who just gets checks from the dentist's office? I don't get. I write them checks. I go to the dentist's office 4 times a year. So they can connect Donna to the payments, and then the night of the murders, she's communicating with Charlie Adelson, and she is texting him, and he's wondering if she's in the area.
Vinny, I really think that it was Mom. Donna was the one who put the battery in the back of Charlie Adelson. I think she's the one who was the driving factor in this homicide taking place. You know, when you're dealing with a mom who definitely didn't want to get rid of, wanted to have her grandchildren close to her, did not want those grandchildren to actually move, and the love that she had for her daughter. So this wasn't going to happen. But I think also the strongest evidence, again, that's going to be used against her is her catching that flight, trying to leave and going to Vietnam out of all places. You can't say you were going there for a vacation because the timing was off, and also the location. Come on, no connection to that place. So I think that's easier for a jury to understand that that flight is consciousness of guilt.
Yeah, I always thought from the beginning, the only chance these Adelsons would have is if one of them took the fall. One of them came in as a defense witness and said, it was me, it was me. But none of them will do it. It shows the type of character that they have. These people are evil. Charlie Adelson taking the life of his nephew's father. I mean, outrageous, outrageous. All right, stay with us, folks. Fasten your seatbelts. Up next. In tonight's Tank Takes, a man in an expensive SUV finds a parked car with a Christmas tree tied onto it. He cuts the rope and steals the tree. So tonight we're wondering, what should Santa bring this thief?
There was pounding on the door. Bang, bang, bang.
He said that we'd seen his face and there was no way that he could ever let us go.
I survived because I'm a born fighter.
I Survived. Next on Court TV. A RICO trial against rapper Young Thug.
The thing with this trial is fame.
Utter havoc on Fulton County.
The Young Thug RICO trial. Trial coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
And Welcome back. Time for tonight's Tank Takes, where we take a look at the world of crime and justice and some stories very different than the rest of the program. Still with us, our think tank, Bernard Villalona, Philip Dubé, Ben Chu. Y'all ready?
Ready.
Let's go.
Ready. All right, let's get to our first one. I'm calling this one Down the Drain. It's a small, award-winning, family-owned winery, and apparently someone broke in there and, take a look at this video. I'll show you what they did. This is just outrageous. So someone's breaking into this winery. It's family-owned. They're getting ready for the holidays. They've got so much wine to sell. They go in and they just open up the spigot, and all the wine is just pouring out. Gallon after gallon after gallon. 4,800 gallons of wine down the drain. $600,000 worth. It's heartbreaking, and it's a business. It's a family business. Horrible. Bernard Villalona, I've got to ask you a question about this. This is sad. I'm watching this. Is this alcohol abuse?
Vinny, this is horrible. I hate to see alcohol go to waste the way it is right now. And I'm a wine drinker, Vinny, so I'm really hurt about this. You know how many people's Christmases are going to be messed up because there's no wine from this location? That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Philip, what would you pair this wine with?
What would I pair it with? Well, first of all, I'm allergic to sulfites. I only drink brown liquor, just saying, okay? But having said that, I don't know. I think this is the kind of situation where, because it's a business, the owners can pray to Bacchus, the god of wine, for an insurance claim form, because
I hope they get that. They deserve it.
Oh, they'll get every penny. This is a covered loss.
All right. All right. I've got another one for you. Calling this one Through the Pain. Not down the drain, but through the pain. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, a man can be seen smiling. He's got a big smile on him. He had just rammed his car through a convenience store, then went to the back and popped open a beer, actually several beers, and then waited for police. Unbelievable. Let me ask you, Ben Chu, is this alcohol abuse?
I think this young man should take his case all the way to the Supreme Court, because there's at least one justice who testified under oath that he really likes beer.
Bernarda, your thoughts?
This is an honest man, Vinny. He waited for police to come for him, and he made sure that his time was well spent. So he actually saved taxpayers' money because no one had to go look for him.
Yeah, he had that smile on his face. Let's get to our final story of the evening. We're calling this one, Oh, Stolen Tree. Oh, Stolen Tree. A man in California has gone viral after he pulled into a parking lot, stole a Christmas tree right off the roof of someone else's car. Video of this incident was captured by a nearby store's surveillance camera, courtesy of NBC Bay Area. We have the footage. Take a look. This is unreal. And he pulls up in like this expensive Infiniti SUV, takes the Christmas tree right off the car, and drives away with it. This is unreal. Caught on camera, though. Philip Dubé, what should Santa bring this guy?
Oh, you better watch out. You better not cry, because he's coming to town because he was naughty. What he's going to do is hook him up to a sleigh and take him down every chimney, and clean them all out with his behind, And by the way, I just find it interesting that San Mateo is publicizing this particular story in their crime blotter. Is this the most dangerous offense that goes on up there? Really, the theft of a Christmas tree? Whatever. It's all good.
Ben Chu, what is Santa going to bring this guy?
Cole, this man is the Grinch.
The Grinch. Great job tonight. Bernard Villolone and Philip Dubé, Ben Chu, thanks so much. We'll see you again really, really soon. All right, folks, before we go tonight, please take a look at your screens. We have a missing child. This is Rachel Lopez. Rachel's only 16 years old, missing out of San Antonio, Texas since December 4th. If you see her, pick up the phone, 1-800-THE-LOST. You can call 911 or the San Antonio Police Department in Texas. The phone number is on the screen. Let's see if we can get Rachel to a safe place this weekend. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.